Princess Kira stood at the tall windows of the Crystal Palace, watching the latest group of alien visitors land their ships in the royal courtyard. Their vessels gleamed under the twin suns of Zentera Prime, each one designed to show wealth and power. The Vorthak ship looked like a giant black diamond. The Kellian transport had golden wings that moved like a bird. The Morvian craft seemed to be made of pure silver light. She knew why they had come. They always came for the same reason. Her oldest sister, Princess Vera, was 25 and would inherit the throne. Her middle sister, Princess Dana, was 23 and controlled the Empire's military forces. Both sisters had everything the galaxy wanted: power, position, and the promise of great alliances. Kira was only 21. In the Zentari Empire, the youngest child received nothing except a small allowance and a quiet life. The alien visitors knew this. They came to court her sisters, not her. "Princess Kira, your father wishes to see you in the throne room," said Nira, her personal servant. The young Zentari woman always spoke softly, as if she understood that Kira preferred quiet. Kira smoothed her simple blue dress and walked through the palace halls. Unlike her sisters, she wore no jewels or fancy clothes. There was no point. Nobody looked at her anyway. The throne room buzzed with activity. Emperor Valdris sat on his crystal throne, speaking with Ambassador Zeth from the Vorthak Confederation. The tall, gray-skinned alien wore robes covered in precious stones. Beside him stood 3 other Vorthak officials, each carrying gifts wrapped in silk. Princess Vera stood near the throne, wearing a dress that sparkled like stars. Her long black hair was arranged with diamonds from the outer rim worlds. Every movement she made caught the light and drew attention. Ambassador Zeth spoke directly to her, explaining how their worlds could work together. Princess Dana stood on the other side, wearing her military uniform decorated with medals from various battles. Her short hair was practical, but she wore a crown of rare metals. The Kellian delegation surrounded her, discussing trade routes and defense agreements. Kira entered the room and stood quietly near a pillar. She had learned long ago not to interrupt when important business was happening. "Ah, Princess Kira," her father said when he noticed her. "Come forward, my dear." The room fell silent as she approached the throne. All the alien visitors turned to look at her. Kira saw the same expression on every face, polite interest that quickly faded to indifference. Ambassador Zeth gave her a small bow. "Princess," he said simply. Then he turned back to Princess Vera and continued their conversation about mining rights on 3 different planets. The Kellian trade prince, a blue-skinned being named Jorik, nodded at her briefly before returning to his discussion with Princess Dana about shipbuilding contracts. The Morvian representative, whose name was Quilvan, looked at Kira for exactly 2 seconds before focusing on a datapad that showed profit margins. Kira had experienced this moment hundreds of times. She was acknowledged, dismissed, and forgotten within minutes. The aliens saw no value in building relationships with someone who would never rule or command armies. "Father, you wanted to see me?" Kira asked quietly. "Yes, my daughter. I wanted you to meet our guests before tonight's formal dinner. Perhaps you could show them to their quarters after this meeting." Showing visitors to their rooms was one of Kira's regular duties. She was useful for small tasks that kept her busy while her sisters handled real diplomacy. "Of course, father." Emperor Valdris smiled at her with genuine warmth. Despite everything, he loved all his daughters equally. But even he understood that the galaxy did not value third children. "Ambassador Zeth," Emperor Valdris continued, "your proposal for the mining partnership is interesting. Princess Vera, what are your thoughts?" As the discussion resumed, Kira stepped back and watched. She had learned to be invisible in these meetings. Her sisters spoke with confidence about planetary resources, trade agreements, and military strategies. They had been trained for these conversations since childhood. Kira had received different education, languages, arts, and cultural studies. Useful skills, but not ones that impressed alien diplomats seeking profitable alliances. The meeting lasted for 2 hours. Ambassador Zeth presented Princess Vera with a necklace made from crystals that could store energy for 1,000 years. Trade Prince Jorik gave Princess Dana a weapon that could cut through any known metal. Representative Quilvan offered both sisters shares in profitable shipping companies. For Kira, there were no gifts. No offers. No conversations about the future. When the meeting ended, Kira dutifully led the visitors to their quarters. The guest wing of the palace had been designed to impress, with rooms that adjusted to each alien species' environmental needs. She showed Ambassador Zeth to a suite with reduced lighting that his species preferred. Trade Prince Jorik received rooms with higher oxygen levels. Representative Quilvan got quarters with special electromagnetic fields. Princess, Ambassador Zeth said as she prepared to leave his rooms, "I hope you understand that our discussions today were purely business." "Of course, Ambassador. I understand my position in these matters." He seemed relieved that she would not expect attention or consideration. "You are very understanding. Your sisters are fortunate to have such a reasonable sibling." Reasonable. That was the word aliens always used for her. Reasonable. Quiet. Undemanding. Never difficult or complicated like some third children from other royal families. After settling all the visitors, Kira returned to her favorite place in the palace, the Archive Gardens. This section of the royal grounds contained both the digital libraries and living collections of plants from across the empire. Most people ignored this area, which made it perfect for her. She sat on a stone bench surrounded by flowers from 12 different worlds. The earth roses from the newest human colony grew beside silver-leafed trees from the Kellian homeworld. Zentari sunflowers stretched toward the evening light while Vorthak crystal plants chimed softly in the breeze. Kira opened her personal datapad and continued working on her latest project, a translation of ancient Zentari agricultural texts. These documents described farming methods used thousands of years ago, before the empire became focused on mining and manufacturing. The work fascinated her, but nobody else cared about old farming techniques. Princess Kira. She looked up to see Nira approaching with a concerned expression. "Yes. Your father asks that you join the family for dinner with the visiting delegations. Princess Vera requested that you wear something more formal." Kira sighed quietly. Formal dinners meant sitting at a long table, listening to negotiations while everyone ignored her presence. But it was her duty. "I will change clothes immediately." An hour later, Kira entered the formal dining hall wearing a dress of deep green silk. She had chosen simple jewelry, a small pendant that had belonged to her grandmother. Her sisters wore gowns that cost more than most people earned in a year, along with jewelry that could fund small armies. The dining table seated 30 people. Kira sat near the middle, between a junior Kellian official and an empty chair. Her sisters sat near their father, surrounded by the most important visitors. During the meal, conversations flowed around topics like trade routes, territorial boundaries, and resource sharing. Ambassador Zeth discussed expanding Vorthak mining operations. Trade Prince Jorik outlined plans for new shipping lanes. Representative Quilvan presented data about profitable investment opportunities. Kira ate quietly and listened. Nobody asked for her opinions about galactic trade or military strategy. Nobody expected her to contribute ideas about economic partnerships. She was present because royal protocol required all family members to attend formal dinners, not because anyone valued her input. Princess Vera, Ambassador Zeth said during dessert, "Your insights about the mineral deposits on Kepler 7 show remarkable understanding of geological processes." "Thank you, Ambassador. I have always found planetary sciences fascinating." "And Princess Dana," added Trade Prince Jorik, "your analysis of defensive strategies impressed our military advisors. I appreciate their confidence in my abilities." Both sisters responded with intelligence and grace. They had been prepared for these moments their entire lives. Kira watched them handle complex discussions with ease, knowing she could never compete with their political skills. As the evening continued, Kira found herself thinking about the ancient texts she had been translating. The old farmers who wrote those documents had understood something important about working together, about finding value in cooperation rather than just profit. But these were not ideas that interested modern diplomats. The dinner ended near midnight. As guests retired to their quarters, Emperor Valdris spoke briefly with his daughters. Vera, your meeting with Ambassador Zeth tomorrow will finalize the mining agreement. Dana, Trade Prince Jorik wants to discuss the military escort contracts. Kira, please ensure our guests have everything they need for their stay. Yes, father, all three sisters replied. Walking back to her rooms, Kira reflected on another evening where she had been present but not important. Tomorrow would bring more meetings, more negotiations, and more opportunities for her sisters to build their futures. For her, tomorrow would mean more quiet duties and more time in the archives. She did not feel sorry for herself. This was simply how things were in the galaxy. Power belonged to those who could inherit or command. Third daughters were useful for small tasks and polite conversation, nothing more. But sometimes, late at night, Kira wondered if there might be different ways to measure value. The ancient texts suggested that cooperation and understanding had once been as important as wealth and military strength. Perhaps somewhere in the galaxy, people still believed in such things. She had no way of knowing that tomorrow would bring visitors who might see the world very differently than any aliens she had ever met. The next morning brought news that surprised everyone in the Crystal Palace. A new delegation had requested permission to land, representatives from the recently discovered Sol system. Emperor Valdris granted their request, though many advisors questioned the wisdom of meeting with such a primitive species. The human ship looked different from all the others in the royal courtyard. While alien vessels displayed wealth and power through precious metals and advanced designs, the human craft appeared practical and sturdy. It was painted white with blue markings and had no decorative elements at all. Princess Kira watched from her usual window as three humans emerged from their ship. They wore simple dark blue uniforms without jewels or expensive materials. The leader was a tall man with brown hair and kind eyes. He moved with quiet confidence, looking around the courtyard with genuine curiosity rather than calculating assessment. Father has called another meeting, Princess Vera announced as she entered Kira's room. These humans apparently want to establish diplomatic relations. Do you know anything about their world? Kira asked. Very little. They only achieved interstellar travel 50 years ago. Their planet has limited resources compared to our member worlds. I cannot imagine what they could offer the Empire. Kira followed her sister to the throne room, where Emperor Valdris was already speaking with the human delegation. The other alien visitors sat in chairs along the walls, watching with barely concealed amusement. Your Majesty, the human leader said with a respectful bow, I am Ambassador Ben Torres from the United Earth Federation. We are honored by your willingness to meet with us. His voice was warm and sincere. Unlike the alien diplomats who spoke in formal, calculated tones, Ben sounded like he truly meant every word. Ambassador Torres, Emperor Valdris replied, welcome to Zentera Prime. What brings humanity to our empire? We seek friendship and cultural exchange, Your Majesty. Earth may be young compared to your ancient civilization, but we believe every world has something valuable to contribute to galactic society. Ambassador Zeth made a quiet sound that might have been laughter. Trade Prince Jorik whispered something to his aide that caused several Kellians to smile. The idea that a primitive world could contribute anything meaningful seemed ridiculous to them. That is an interesting perspective, Emperor Valdris said diplomatically. Please, tell us about your world. Ben spoke about Earth with obvious love and pride. He described oceans that covered most of the planet's surface, forests filled with countless species of life, and cities where billions of humans lived and worked together. He talked about art, music, literature, and scientific discoveries that had shaped human civilization. The alien visitors listened politely but showed no real interest. They wanted to hear about military strength, resource deposits, and trade opportunities. Cultural achievements meant nothing in galactic politics. When the formal meeting ended, Ambassador Zeth approached Ben with a condescending smile. "Ambassador Torres, your enthusiasm for your homeworld is admirable. However, you should understand that the galactic community operates on practical principles. Friendship and cultural exchange are luxuries that advanced civilizations discuss after more important matters are settled." "I appreciate your advice, Ambassador," Ben replied calmly. "On Earth, we have learned that understanding different cultures often prevents the conflicts that make other negotiations necessary." Ambassador Zeth's gray skin darkened slightly, a sign of irritation among his people. "Perhaps your species will develop a more mature perspective as you gain experience." Ben remained polite despite the insult. Kira watched this exchange from her position near the wall, impressed by the human's patience and dignity. After the official meetings concluded, Kira returned to her work in the archive gardens. She had discovered a fascinating section in the ancient texts about crop rotation techniques that could restore depleted soil. The methods were thousands of years old, but they showed remarkable understanding of ecological balance. "Excuse me, are you Princess Kira?" She looked up to see Ambassador Ben Torres standing nearby. Unlike the other visitors who had found her in this place, he did not seem surprised or disappointed to discover a princess sitting alone with old books. "Yes, I am. How may I help you, Ambassador? I hope you do not mind the intrusion. Your servant mentioned that you often work in the gardens, and I was curious about this section of the palace. These plants are remarkable. I have never seen so many different species growing together successfully." Kira set down her datapad and gestured to the gardens around them. "This collection represents flora from 37 different worlds. My great-grandmother created it as a symbol of how diverse life could flourish when properly understood and cared for." Ben examined a nearby flower that changed colors as the sunlight moved across its petals. "Your great-grandmother sounds like a wise woman. On Earth, we have learned that biodiversity makes ecosystems stronger and more resilient. You study plant life on your world?" "I was a xenobiologist before becoming a diplomat. I spent years studying how different environments produce different forms of life. When we discovered we were not alone in the universe, I became fascinated by the possibility of learning from alien botanical knowledge." This was the first time any visiting diplomat had shown interest in the gardens. Most aliens saw the collection as decorative rather than educational. "What are you reading?" Ben asked, noticing her datapad. "Ancient Centauri agricultural texts. I am translating documents that describe farming methods used before our civilization became focused on industrial development. May I ask why this interests you?" Kira hesitated. Most people found her research boring and pointless. But Ben's question sounded genuinely curious rather than politely dismissive. "I believe these old techniques could help worlds that have exhausted their soil through intensive mining or manufacturing. Many planets in our empire struggle to grow enough food to feed their populations. These ancient methods show how to restore land that was thought to be permanently damaged." Ben's eyes widened with excitement. "That is incredible. On Earth, we face similar challenges. Industrial agriculture has depleted soil in many regions, and we are always seeking better methods of restoration." For the next hour, they discussed agricultural techniques, soil restoration, and sustainable farming practices. Ben shared stories of Earth's agricultural history, describing how ancient farmers had developed terracing, crop rotation, and companion planting to maximize productivity while maintaining soil health. Kira found herself talking more than she had in months. Ben asked thoughtful questions and offered insights that connected Centauri techniques with human methods. Their conversation revealed similarities between their civilizations that had developed independently across vast distances. "Princess Kira," Ben said as their discussion continued, "your knowledge of these subjects is remarkable. Have you considered how this information could benefit interplanetary cooperation?" "What do you mean?" "Many worlds in this region struggle with food production due to depleted resources. Your research could provide solutions that would save millions of lives and strengthen the entire galactic community." Kira had never thought of her work in such terms. She studied the ancient texts because they fascinated her, not because she believed they had practical applications for galactic politics. I do not think the other worlds would be interested in agricultural advice from a third daughter, she said quietly. Why not? Knowledge has value regardless of its source. On Earth, some of our most important discoveries have come from unexpected places. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Ambassador Zeth, who approached with obvious irritation. Princess Kira, he said in a tone that was barely polite, I require refreshments for my delegation. Please arrange for proper Vorthak dietary supplements to be delivered to our quarters. The dismissive command made Kira feel small and embarrassed. She started to stand, prepared to fulfill the request as she always did. Ambassador Zeth, Ben said firmly, rising to his feet, Princess Kira is engaged in important research that could benefit many worlds. I am sure your staff can handle refreshment arrangements through the palace's normal channels. The gray-skinned alien stared at Ben with surprise and anger. You dare to interfere with palace protocols? This princess has duties to attend to. Princess Kira is a member of the royal family and a scholar whose work deserves respect. She is not a servant to be ordered around by visiting dignitaries. The confrontation drew attention from palace staff and other visitors who had gathered nearby. Ambassador Zeth's skin darkened to almost black as his anger increased. You humans clearly do not understand civilized behavior. Third daughters exist to serve their betters, not to waste time with pointless hobbies. On Earth, we believe every individual has inherent worth regardless of their position in society. Princess Kira's research into agricultural restoration could help feed hungry populations across the galaxy. That is not a pointless hobby, it is valuable work that your civilization has foolishly ignored. Princess Vera appeared at the edge of the garden, drawn by the raised voices. She looked shocked to see a human diplomat defending her younger sister against a powerful alien ambassador. There is no need for conflict, Kira said quickly, trying to prevent further problems. I can arrange the refreshments that Ambassador Zeth requires. No, Ben said gently but firmly. You should continue your important work. Ambassador Zeth can request assistance through proper diplomatic channels if his delegation has needs. Ambassador Zeth realized that their argument was drawing unwanted attention. Other alien visitors were watching with interest, and palace staff had gathered nearby. Making a scene would damage his dignity more than withdrawing. This conversation is over, he announced coldly. Humans clearly lack the sophistication necessary for meaningful diplomatic relations. He stalked away, his robes billowing dramatically. The other aliens followed, shaking their heads at what they saw as human ignorance of proper social hierarchy. Princess Vera approached cautiously. Kira, are you well? Ambassador Zeth seemed quite angry. I am fine, sister. Ambassador Torres was simply showing me courtesy that others find unnecessary. Vera looked at Ben with new interest. Ambassador, your defense of my sister was unexpected. Most visitors understand that third daughters have limited status in our society. Your Highness, on Earth we judge people by their character and abilities, not by their birth order. Princess Kira possesses knowledge and insights that could benefit many worlds. Any society that fails to recognize such value is limiting its own potential. After Princess Vera left, Ben and Kira continued their conversation. But something had changed. For the first time in her life, someone had publicly defended her worth and dignity. The experience was both wonderful and frightening. Thank you for what you said to Ambassador Zeth, Kira said quietly. I spoke only the truth. Your research could help millions of people. That makes you more valuable than any diplomat seeking profitable trade agreements. As the evening approached, Kira realized that Ben Torres saw the galaxy very differently than any alien she had ever met. While others measured worth through power and position, humans apparently valued knowledge, character, and individual potential. For the first time, she wondered if there might be a different way to live in the universe. The grand convergence ceremony arrived 3 days later. This ancient Zentari tradition marked the formal conclusion of courtship negotiations. Royal families across the galaxy sent representatives to witness the announcements that would shape interstellar politics for generations. The Crystal Palace had been transformed for the occasion. Banners from 50 different worlds hung from the ceiling. Floating lights created patterns that honored each visiting species. The throne room could barely contain all the dignitaries, military leaders, and trade representatives who had gathered for this historic event. Princess Kira stood in her assigned position near the back of the room, wearing a dress of silver silk that caught the light beautifully. Unlike her sisters, who wore crowns and jewelry worth entire star systems, Kira had chosen simple ornaments that belonged to her grandmother. She knew this ceremony was not about her. Emperor Valdris sat on his crystal throne, surrounded by advisors and ceremonial guards. The weight of countless political decisions showed in his face, but his eyes held pride as he looked at his daughters. Princess Vera stood to his right, magnificent in a gown that seemed to be made of starlight itself. Representatives from 12 different worlds had competed for her hand in marriage. Her choice would determine military alliances and trade agreements that would affect billions of people. Princess Dana stood to his left, wearing her formal military uniform decorated with medals from battles across the galaxy. Her marriage would secure defensive pacts and establish new shipping routes through previously hostile territory. The ceremony began with traditional music from the Zentari Imperial Orchestra. Ancient songs filled the air as representatives from each world presented their final offers and proposals. Ambassador Zeth stepped forward first, his gray skin gleaming under the ceremonial lights. He carried a data crystal that contained legal documents for a marriage contract with Princess Vera. Your Majesty, he announced in his formal tone, the Vorthak Confederation offers Princess Vera partnership with Admiral Gorvek, commander of our largest fleet. This union would grant the Zentari Empire access to 23 new mining worlds and protection from the hostile species beyond the Outer Rim. The offer was impressive even by galactic standards. Admiral Gorvek was known throughout the galaxy as both a brilliant military strategist and the heir to vast mining fortunes. Marriage to him would make Princess Vera one of the most powerful women in the known universe. Trade Prince Jorik approached next, his blue skin decorated with golden patterns that indicated his high rank among the Kellian merchant houses. Emperor Valdris, the Kellian Trade Alliance offers Princess Dana marriage to Prince Theron, future leader of our military forces. This partnership would create exclusive shipping rights through Kellian space and joint control of the profitable Nebula 7 trade routes. Prince Theron controlled fleets that protected merchant ships across half the galaxy. His marriage to Princess Dana would make the Zentari Empire the dominant force in interstellar commerce. Other representatives presented their offers with equal grandeur. The Morvians offered technological partnerships worth trillions of credits. The Dalaxians promised military support that could conquer entire star systems. The Rigelians offered exclusive access to their advanced weapons technology. Each proposal was carefully calculated to provide maximum political and economic advantage. The alien suitors had spent months analyzing what the Zentari Empire needed most and structuring their offers accordingly. As the presentations continued, Kira watched from her position near the wall. She felt no jealousy toward her sisters, who had trained their entire lives for these moments. They possessed the skills and knowledge necessary to manage galactic alliances. She did not. When all the formal offers had been presented, Emperor Valdris stood to announce his daughter's decisions. Princess Vera, he said solemnly, you have heard the proposals of many worthy suitors. What is your choice? Princess Vera stepped forward with grace and confidence. Father, I accept the marriage proposal from Admiral Gorvek of the Vorthak Confederation. Together, we will strengthen the Empire's military capabilities and expand our resource base to ensure prosperity for all Zentari people. The room erupted in applause. Ambassador Zeth's gray skin brightened with triumph. The marriage would create the most powerful military alliance in the galaxy. Princess Dana, Emperor Valdris continued, what is your decision? Father, I accept the marriage proposal from Prince Theron of the Kellian Trade Alliance. Our union will secure new trade routes and establish the economic partnerships necessary for the empire's continued growth. More applause filled the room. Trade Prince Jorik's golden patterns glowed with satisfaction. The Kellyan marriage would make the Zentari Empire incredibly wealthy. Emperor Valdris paused before addressing his youngest daughter. Princess Kira, several minor houses have expressed interest in alliance through marriage. The governors of 3 agricultural worlds have submitted proposals that would provide useful but limited benefits to the empire. Kira had expected this moment. Minor marriages for third daughters usually involve distant colonies or small trading partners. These arrangements provided diplomatic courtesy rather than significant advantage. Before she could respond, a voice spoke from the crowd. Your Majesty, if I may request permission to address the court. Everyone turned to see Ambassador Ben Torres stepping forward. The alien diplomats looked surprised and somewhat amused. What could a human possibly offer that would interest a galactic empire? Emperor Valdris raised an eyebrow but nodded. Very well, Ambassador Torres. You may speak. Ben moved to the center of the room with quiet confidence. Unlike the alien suitors who had presented elaborate displays of wealth and power, he carried only a simple data tablet. Your Majesty, honored representatives, I come before you not with offers of military might or economic advantage, but with a proposal that could transform how civilizations interact throughout the galaxy. Ambassador Zeth made a dismissive sound. What could humans possibly offer that advanced species would find valuable? Ben ignored the insult and continued. For the past 3 days, I have had the privilege of learning from Princess Kira. Her knowledge of ancient agricultural techniques, her understanding of interspecies cultural patterns, and her insights into cooperation versus competition have shown me something remarkable. He paused and looked directly at Kira. Princess Kira possesses the wisdom to solve problems that have plagued the galaxy for centuries. Food shortages, territorial disputes, and trade wars often stem from cultural misunderstandings rather than actual resource conflicts. This is ridiculous, Trade Prince Jorik interrupted. Galactic politics requires practical solutions, not academic theories. Does it? Ben asked calmly. How many wars could be prevented if civilizations understood each other better? How many worlds could be saved if we shared knowledge about sustainable resource management? How many conflicts arise because different species make assumptions about each other's motivations? He activated his data tablet, projecting images into the air above the crowd. The display showed statistical analysis of galactic conflicts over the past 5 centuries. 70% of interstellar wars began with cultural misunderstandings that escalated into economic or territorial disputes. 60% of trade disagreements resulted from different species having incompatible communication styles. 80% of failed colonization attempts occurred because settlers did not understand local environmental conditions. The room grew quiet as representatives studied the data. Ben's analysis revealed patterns that most civilizations had never recognized. Princess Kira's research into ancient Zentari agricultural methods has already shown me solutions to soil depletion problems that plague 17 different worlds in this region. Her understanding of cultural translation could prevent the communication errors that cause so many diplomatic failures. He turned to face Emperor Valdris directly. Your Majesty, I propose that Princess Kira become the galaxy's first interspecies cultural ambassador. Earth offers to establish an institute for galactic understanding, with Princess Kira as its director. This institute would study cultural barriers to cooperation, develop better communication protocols, and share knowledge that could benefit every civilization in the galaxy. The alien representatives exchanged confused glances. They had never encountered a proposal that valued knowledge and understanding over military or economic advantage. You offer no fleets, no trade routes, no territorial concessions, Representative Quilvan said with obvious bewilderment. What practical benefit would this institute provide? Before Ben could answer, Princess Kira stepped forward. For the first time in her life, she had something important to say in a formal gathering. Honored representatives, she began, her voice clear and strong, permit me to answer that question." The room fell silent. Most of the aliens had barely noticed her existence during their visits. 3 years ago, the Vorthak and Kellian civilizations nearly went to war over mining rights in the Sigma Quadrant. The conflict was prevented only when both sides exhausted their resources in preparation for battle. But the original dispute arose because Vorthak negotiators did not understand that Kellian culture requires 3 formal meetings before any agreement can be considered. The Kellians thought the Vorthaks were being deliberately insulting by rushing negotiations. The Vorthaks thought the Kellians were being deceptive by delaying simple agreements. Ambassador Zeth and Trade Prince Jorik looked uncomfortable as she continued. 2 years ago, the Morvian colony on Kepler-4 failed because the settlers used farming techniques that worked on their homeworld but destroyed Kepler's unique soil composition. 50,000 colonists died of starvation. Yet the ancient Zentari texts contain detailed information about similar soil types and the methods needed to work with them successfully. Representative Quilvan's expression showed growing interest. Last year, trade negotiations between the Dalaxian Republic and the Rigelian Empire collapsed because Dalaxians consider direct eye contact a sign of aggression, while Rigelians interpret the lack of eye contact as evidence of dishonesty. A simple misunderstanding about communication styles prevented a partnership that could have benefited both civilizations. Princess Kira's voice grew stronger as she spoke. An Institute for Galactic Understanding could have prevented all of these problems. By studying how different cultures communicate, by sharing knowledge about environmental adaptation, by helping species understand each other's perspectives, we could eliminate the misunderstandings that cause so much conflict and suffering. The room remained silent as representatives absorbed her words. For the first time, they were hearing practical applications for cultural knowledge. Emperor Valdris looked at his youngest daughter with amazement. "Kira, how do you know so much about these diplomatic incidents?" "I read everything, father. While my sisters studied military strategy and economics, I studied history, anthropology, and linguistics. I never thought this knowledge was useful until Ambassador Torres showed me how it could solve real problems." Ben stepped beside her, his respect and admiration obvious. Princess Kira possesses exactly the skills needed to create understanding between civilizations. Earth would be honored to work with her in establishing this institute. Together, we could build a foundation for lasting peace based on mutual understanding rather than temporary military balances. The alien representatives looked confused and uncertain. They had come expecting traditional negotiations about power and profit. This proposal challenged everything they understood about interstellar relations. Emperor Valdris studied his youngest daughter for a long moment. "Kira, do you accept Ambassador Torres's proposal?" Princess Kira looked around the room at the assembled representatives. 6 months ago, she had been invisible to them all. Today, she had their complete attention. "Yes, father. I believe the galaxy needs the Institute for Galactic Understanding more than it needs another military alliance or trade agreement. I accept the opportunity to serve all civilizations by promoting cooperation through cultural knowledge." Emperor Valdris smiled with pride and surprise. "Then it is decided. Princess Kira will work with the human delegation to establish this institute. May it bring the understanding and peace that military might and economic pressure have failed to achieve." As the ceremony concluded, representatives from various worlds approached Princess Kira with questions about her proposed institute. They might not understand the value of cultural exchange, but they had seen proof that ignorance caused expensive problems. Ben stood beside her, watching with satisfaction as the forgotten princess transformed into the architect of galactic cooperation. The humans had found treasure where the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had seen only worthless stone. In the end, human intuition had succeeded where alien logic had failed. By recognizing individual worth beyond political utility, Ben had discovered someone who could change the course of interstellar history. Princess Kira was no longer the youngest daughter who was overlooked by all alien suitors. She had become the woman who would teach the galaxy a new way to live together in peace.